And a very good morning to you. Welcome to K24 This Morning. My name is Jeff Moto. We're looking at the big stories, of course, across your dailies, but also digging a bit deeper to what has been a session of sloganeering when you look at Kenya's political history. And now, are we getting yet into another season of that? With BBI looming in the horizon, we discuss that and plenty more right here. Of course, as always, we love it when you're part of the conversation. You can get me at I am Jeff Moto or at K24 TV. If you're just joining this discussion, haven't gotten yourself a copy of your People Daily, you don't need to leave the office. You don't need to leave where you're watching this from. You can actually get it straight to your phone. It's only 10 shillings. And the number that you dial is star 550 star 4 hash. Once again, the number is star 550 star 4 hash. Dial that number, get yourself a copy of your People Daily straight to your phone. It's brought to you by the PD and Safaricom. Front page of the People Daily, Uhuru Raila set stage for BBI rollout. President and opposition leader host parliamentary leaders tomorrow at State House to sell proposals. As you can see, the timeline's been given right there as to how this will play out. And they're looking at this from Saturday all the way up until 2021 and 2022 proper. You can get that in your copy of your People Daily. Also in the People Daily, billions spent but no stadiums to show for it. It was a key promise that was made. Whatever happened between the promise and actual delivery is what the PD seeks to answer. This story can be found on page 29. And even as you look at that, Ruto finding unlikely new allies in economist David Ndii and Makueni Governor Kivutha Kibwana. That story on page 8 therein. County workers hit hard by COVID-19. Ministry of Health talking about how there's been a spike in infection cases right across the country. And as you can see right there, Council of Governors Chair Wycliffe Oparanya speaking about the fact that county workers haven't been spared either by those infections, and you can get that story on page 6 of your PD. Once again, if you don't have your PD, you can get it straight to your phone. The number that you need to dial is star 550 star 4 hash. Let's look at the front page of the Daily Nation now. Revealed, Uhuru plan for power weekend. President Kenyatta is set to meet the cabinet and Deputy President William Ruto at a retreat today as he and handshake partner Raila Odinga prepare the ground for the unveiling of the Building Bridges Initiative report. On Saturday, the head of state is scheduled to meet the leadership of the Senate and the National Assembly, who will play a key role in ensuring changes proposed in the BBI sail through the two houses. President to rally support for these particular reforms within the political class as well. And that's why the Daily Nation putting it as a power weekend for Uhuru. And of course, as he sets his agenda proper for the BBI. You can find that in your copy of your Daily Nation therein. Let's look at the front page of the Standard now. An angry man, says the Standard. Deputy President decries broken promises, stalled projects and unfulfilled ambitions by his own government. Says the handshake between Uhuru and Raila has undermined the development agenda. That's a story that you can get in your copy of your Standard on page 8. Also on the front page of the Standard, Uhuru sends BBI man to New York, rewards former IBC bosses. Handshake Joint Secretary Martin Kimani named envoy to the United Nations. Connie Maina, Paul Kurgat and Margaret Mwachanya given diplomatic postings to Rome, Moscow and Islamabad. You can find the story in your copy of your Standard. And even as you look at the political implications of what might be going on in the business section of your Standard, it's official. The economy is now in recession. The full impact of COVID-19 can now be told. The economy contracted by 5.7% in the second quarter, the worst drop in 59 years. This figures coming in from the Kenyan National Bureau of Statistics. You can get that story on page 35 of your Standard this morning. Finally, from page of the Star, inside JSC plan to kick out CJ Maraga and welcome within the corridors of power, both in Parliament and the Executive, plans on going to advertise CJ position while he's still in office. You can see that story in detail and get more details on that on page 4 and 5 of your Star. Also in the Star, they're calling it a showdown. Uhuru Raila might release BBI report this weekend. The details of that particular story as well on page 2 of your Star this morning. So as you can see, this is where it stands right now. BBI very close, to being released. And as we look at it right now, we're talking about political slogans and where they take us so far, because every single campaign period, electorate promised so much, but when it comes to actual delivery, falling short of that very many times. We discuss that right here on the show. We love it when you're part of the discussion. We'll have a question of the day as well. Welcome to the show. This is K24 This Morning. Okay, let me get to my panel. In studio, we have governance expert Charles Munyo. He's been away for a while. Welcome back, Charles.
Thank you very much.
Hope all has been well.
Yeah. All has been okay. I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
Sanitizing, social distancing.
Right.
Reminding Kenyans that it's not over yet.
Right.
Actually, it looks like it's spiking, and that's really scary. But we are good.
Okay.
And we are here.
Fantastic stuff.
Yeah, yes.
Also joined by youth policy expert Ruth Ambogo. Good morning.
Good morning.
Karibu.
Asante.
Welcome to the show.
I am very much welcome.
Asante.
I'm just wondering what happened to the slogans, the caps with K24 slogans. Now that we are talking about
We're taking
slogans.
a back seat on that. We also have Derek Otieno. He is an editor with the People Daily. Good morning, Derek.
Morning, Jeff. How have you been?
Karibu sana.
It's a fortnight here.
Asante sana. Welcome to the show.
Cheers, bro.
Okay, even before we get to the sloganeering that has been part of political fodder in Kenya for quite a while, interesting headlines we're seeing right now, and it seems like this is a weekend to really watch as far as the BBI is concerned. Charles, I'll start with you. Are we seeing the report on Monday from where you stand, from what you're seeing so far?
I believe we are. And I think people are looking at it the wrong way. We got a report a while back. I think what happened is that report went for validation. And I thought that is the position as of now. And that is a report that was accepted by everyone. Raila Odinga, Uhuru Kenyatta, William Ruto. And I'm surprised. I get really surprised when people start saying we'll oppose it. We are not happy about jobs being created. You said it was okay. And it went for validation. And what we are expecting are going to be bills, largely, because most of these things can only be properly grounded when they are properly grounded in law. Right. So we are expecting to see bills that will attempt to maybe come up with new statutes, amend existing statutes, amend the constitution, either through a referendum or just amendment that does not necessarily go through a referendum. And that's why Parliament, National Assembly and Senate are all very important right now. Ultimately, even if you go to a referendum, we will have two questions at most, I am believing, not more than 2 or 3. So I am not sure I understand what people are opposing. Right. I mean, they said it's okay. They said the position of Prime Minister is fine, as contained in the report that was there. So what is this that has changed? I think to me is playing politics. And what should happen is Kenyans should slow down on this thing of following everything that they are told. They should wait for these reports to come out, look at them, because they can be able to read for themselves, see where they are taking them, and appreciate the good things. I am personally keen to see that BBI report coming out and telling me the process of voting called plurality is gone. Now we are going to adopt something called proportional representation. But because we have not seen the report, I am sure when it comes out, we are going to see, so that we can sort out this issue of being threatened with gender issues, being told you need to balance this way, nominating hundreds and hundreds of individuals just to balance situations when we can have them elected in a process that is legitimate and makes sense. So to me, I need Kenyans to relax and just watch this and realize that there's elections maybe a year or 2 from now, and that's basically the reason as to why there's a lot of activity from politicians. Okay.
Ruth, as you look at it, probably some of the discomfort is due to the fact that some people are thinking there might be some amendments to what they saw before in the report, and what you thought was the Prime Minister might not be what was there before. Do you think that's the issue, that this report might come with some changes that weren't there in the first draft?
There is no telling what to expect from I'd not call it the second report, but the final report, because remember that Kenyans went through a second phase of validation. Now, I don't know whether this validation phase was the phase where Kenyans were now saying that, we agree that whatever is contained in the report is what we had proposed during the stage when the committee had come around trying to collect views, or whether Kenyans were also attempting to change the particular recommendations that were in the report. But regardless, whatever shall be contained in the final report, rest assured that this shall not be somebody's individual opinion within the report. It shall still contain views of Kenyans who actually went back to the validation process and said, this is still what we, further beyond what we had proposed to see in the report in the first place, we still think that these changes need to be incorporated. So I think what we should look at it, the BBI report that's coming from the view of the fact, from the lens of the fact that these are opinions by Kenyans, not opinions by a group of people sitting down somewhere and saying that this is what is best for the country. Remember, it was a conversation with Kenyans about what affects us as a country and how we feel that how we feel that the country should be governed moving forward, how we feel that certain certain issues should be resolved moving forward. But then again, just to come back to what Charles has said, Charles keeps insisting and saying that, oh, you know, when the first report came out, everybody said that the report was okay and okayed it, and he doesn't see why anyone would oppose it in the first place. But for me, if I remember very well, all the leaders were saying when the first report came out was they were saying that this is the beginning of a conversation. I don't think anyone particularly directly said that, you know, I'm going to support this, and I do not intend on opposing the propositions that are contained in the report. But I think most of them were saying let this begin a conversation, let this begin a discussion as to whether we think the propositions herein are what is best for the country moving forward. So, right. Of course, it would almost be unreasonable, if I don't know if unreasonable is the right word to use, not to expect opposition from such a process. Because remember, at the end of the day, we are Kenyans, we have varied views about how we want the country led, we have varied views about the system of governance that we would wish to see. So it is almost a guarantee that there will be someone coming up to oppose the particular document, even if it is not politicians themselves. Even if the politicians decide to say that we are standing on one side and saying we are supporting whatever propositions are in the report, remember that we still have an active civil society that has a mind of its own. We have individual Kenyans who have a mind of their own. So definitely expect that there shall be a group of people somewhere in the country opposing the particular recommendations if we get to the stage where we are saying we are going for a referendum. Okay.
Derek, I'll have you in on this one as well, because we are coming at this at a time when Kenyans are really hard-pressed economically. Yesterday we saw Safaricom releasing some data talking about the number of Kenyans who took Fuliza loans. That amounts to, I think, around over 200 billion Kenya shillings. Treasury has said that they don't have money for this referendum. Things are tight due to the coronavirus. Is this the mood? Is this the time to push this through right now? Should we be talking about more economic stimulus packages and how to revive the economy and not the BBI process? What do you think would happen once this one is pushed through by Kenyans? Do they receive it with open arms?
I don't think, first of all, Jeff, it might be a diversionary act by our politicians to create this anxiety around BBI to cloud some of the real issues we are facing at the moment. But I tend to believe that whatever we expect from our politicians on the BBI and the referendum bit should be looked at from the country's well-being, economically, socially, and above all, the pandemic we are facing. I don't think we should go into an expensive referendum at a time when half, or I think it's about 80% of the students are at home. The economy is yet to recover, because I'm very sure if that BBI report is adopted tomorrow, it is going to trigger a frenzy of elections and electioneering slogans that we have been talking about. And it's going to obviously impact on the fractured society we are having at the moment. I don't think Kenya needs a referendum at the moment. It depends on what the politicians say and what they want, but I am very sure that we can delay the referendum. Many people have said so. Analysts like my friends there have always said that we need to look at it from a nationalistic point of view, and we need to have that sense of belonging as Kenyans when you go through such a process. That will definitely leave us polarized, fractured, and at the end of it all, divided as we have never been, if we go by what the hustler nation has done to this country in the recent past.
Okay, well, it's really a wait and see right now to see how this plays out as far as the BBI report is concerned. This weekend will be the big one, probably into next week, Monday, to see how that plays out. I want us to move this forward as we wait for this.
Why? Because how do you tell us you cannot have a referendum when you have issues to resolve? You know, I know that this matter of the advisory by the CJ is before court, so you might not talk about merits and demerits. One of the issues that we are attempting to resolve is the issue of gender parity. Yeah? In Kiambu County, where I come from, we have 60 MCAs elected and 30 or so nominated. If you change from plurality to proportional representation, we'll only have 60. And persons with disability, youth and women will be represented, and men, of course. That's what we are talking about. The process of BBI is about increasing the amount that is supposed to go to counties. We are talking about counties' food security as a real issue under the Big Four. Agriculture is fully devolved. When counties have more money through BBI as a process, 35% instead of 15%, there's food security. These people are isolating BBI and looking at it as if it's something that is out there, is not connected to what else is happening in the country. Yet it is actually those issues that we are trying to resolve. Look at the issue of ethos. We are insulting everyone. Every day people are calling each other, this mother of this other one, doing this other to the other mother of the other one. And we are talking about ethos as a real issue, and we have a roadmap on how this needs to be resolved, because we might not be able to legislate on how to love each other. But there's a process. That's what I'm saying. I wish we tell Kenyans the truth and tell them BBI is not just about the position of Prime Minister.
Yeah.
And who said the position of Prime Minister is bad?
Right.
If the Prime Minister is being paid the same amount an MP is being paid and is elected as an MP, Duale style or Kemunya style, what is the big deal exactly? How have you created a new position if the leader of majority is not there? What you have is someone you're calling a Prime Minister coordinating matters government in Parliament. What is the big deal? I think we have created this is a very, very big thing. We have crowded everything else that is very nice about BBI, and I think that is very unfortunate. So I will not allow my friend to say we cannot have a referendum, because if a referendum is going to ensure we don't nominate 700 MCAs across the country, then let it be.
Well, you wait for the report.
Exactly.
Once they hammer it out and have those details on Monday or Tuesday, we shall have this discussion and see really what is in it.
Just to add on to
Very
that.
quickly, we need to move on.
Yes, I mean, just to briefly add on to that, for me, I've always been of the opinion that much as a country would look at its short-term challenges and its short-term concerns at the moment, there's also the long-term challenges and concerns that we do have as a nation. I remember when you look at like the 1965 sessional paper number 10, one of the things that kept on being insisted on was the fact that in as much as we are pursuing short-term gains as a country, let's also look at long-term gains. Like right now, we have long-term problems that we do face every other electioneering period. We have long-term challenges that we'll face as a country moving forward. So let's find a way of balancing these problems. That yes, right now we are dealing with coronavirus, its effects, and how do we get back as a country economically back to our feet. But then again, let's not forget that we still have governance problems and issues that we face as a country, that if BBI is the solution to it, then let's give it a chance to have that discussion.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll wait and see what this validated report has for us, either this weekend or next week proper. Let's move on to our discussion of the day. We also have a question of the day for you. Let's have that up on screen. What has the Uhuru Kenyatta administration promised and successfully delivered? What has the Uhuru Kenyatta administration promised and successfully delivered? We're talking about political sloganeering right here. We'd love to get your messages on WhatsApp. You can also get me on Twitter at I am Jeff Mote and at K24TV. Let's move this discussion there and talk about the making of a manifesto, Charles, because every single campaign period, they'll come and promise the moon and the stars and all of these things, and when they get in office, most of these things fall by the wayside. Is that usually by design, by default, even for those who are getting back into office for a second term? What usually goes wrong? Because it's what's in the manifesto, and then they usually say, kwa ground vitu ni different. What happens there?
I think we need to look at Uhuru's administration slightly differently from the other administration, because for the first time we are experiencing devolution, and you know those two levels of government are distinct, and although they're interdependent, they have reasonable independence, if you ask me, and they have functions, specific functions that are counter functions, and there's nothing much the national government can do about that. And I think that is an area that has not really clicked, if you ask me. If you look at the functions that are devolved, including agriculture and health, and especially health, other than national referral hospitals and policy, health is actually a county function. But when health does not work, you'll find that the buck stopping at the feet of the president. And I'm saying this with a lot of respect. If you look at issues that concern us of things like agriculture, food security, and all those things, again, fully devolved, including animal husbandry. But again, when things don't work out, everything now again goes back to where it started. What amazes me is the shared function in education, where pre-primary education and village youth polytechnics are functions of the county government. Yet you'll find governors glowing literally when they are giving bursaries for universities, which is a function of the national government. And yet they don't have a nursery school or an ECD that is functional. So I think, to me, the challenges here in terms of what you promise as a president who is leading a country that has devolved structures is that other than policy and guiding on issues of policy, you'll find you are limited in the areas you can deliver. Mm-hmm. And I think if you look at how we create our manifestos, this has to reasonably change. And we need now Kenyans to start understanding how policy works, how policy operates, because you'll find a lot of antagonism, even when you come up with something good, and the county governments would like to do it their way. And of course, even counties have a voice. If you look at what has been happening with KEMSA, again, it is a concern to counties. They are saying we can get some of these things cheaper than KEMSA is selling to us. So those are the issues that are of concern moving forward. But importantly, if you look at Uhuru, the first thing that he promised was a unified country. And this is something he gave, even when he gave his first acceptance speech, the first time he got elected, he said, the people I was contesting against, it's not like they don't have good ideas. It's only that the better idea won. And I'll reach out to them and we'll work together. Literally, that's what he said. Mm-hmm. And he's been following through with that. Even this thing of building bridges, handshakes, and all those things should not have surprised people. Look at even the Jubilee constitution. It talks about reaching out to other leaders from other parties and coalitions and working with them towards achieving this. So I think this aspect is something that he has followed through. This is something that he's really keen on. Okay. But of course, the key clear deliverables that an average Kenyan will see, there will always be discussion on how much has been achieved, what has not been achieved. Okay. And especially now when you have a deputy president who is saying we have not delivered because we went in pursuit of this or the other one at the expense of this, and he's still drawing a salary. That sort of like...
We'll be getting to that. We have 3 minutes to go before our first break. So Ruth, I'll come to you as well on this one. Because yes. As we see from the manifestos, there are all of these key points. Let's even take the Uhuru manifesto when they're coming in for the second term. There are all these things that are planned. Then you get to the big four. Now we have BBI. And even as people who are trying to follow, as a normal citizen, they wonder, okay, fine, where are we in this? By the time you leave office, what will you have said you'll have done?
Yeah.
That's the critical question, because yes. I didn't have a job, probably still don't have one,
yeah.
and you had promised jobs
yes.
as a youth, and that usually is where the disconnect comes in.
Yeah, so for me it appears as if political party manifestos are usually just something to entice you to either support a political party and end up voting for whoever is in that particular political party. Because at the end of the day, when you look at, as you have mentioned, the deliverables versus the promise versus the deliverables, you don't really see a connection. But then again, I would want to say that the question of whether there are deliverables or not also sometimes depends on what the country chooses to focus on. Because when you look at the reporting of our country, we rarely report. First of all, there's usually a big problem in how we report on development in the country. We rarely report on the good. The news will always be focused on the negative to attract you as a viewer, as a listener, to get to see, okay, this is what is happening, to criticize what is happening in government. But most of the times we tend to miss out on the good and on what's happening. For example, I will not say that in the 2017 elections I voted for, or rather supported the government of the day, but I'd say for sure that I'm seeing some changes in terms of the Big Four agenda being implemented. I saw, for instance, as a Kenyan, I would want to say confidently that I saw the government embarking on plans to come up with affordable housing as part of its Big Four agenda. I can see that, I mean, and it's public knowledge that there are houses that are being built with the hope that Kenyans will begin to occupy these houses in the near future. During this COVID period, I saw, or rather I've been seeing government trying to focus a lot more on reviving, textile industries that were dead, that were long dead before. I'm seeing government embarking on plans such as plans to ensure that renewable energy sources are adopted by the country, and very many other good things that are, number one, are rarely reported on, or even if they are reported on, we as Kenyans have fine-tuned our minds to sift off the good and focus mostly on the negative. So I think governments need to, much as they promise, they also need to focus on telling people when they have delivered, Mm-hmm. But then again, there's no doubt that the rate at which the delivery is being done versus the promises is sometimes, most of the times, very, very low. The delivery process and versus the promises, it's not really in line. How do I put it? Like, the delivery rate is a bit lower as compared to what Kenyans would want to see or would wish to see. Okay. But there is no doubt that there is a lot of good that has happened. There is no doubt that there is a lot of development and changes in terms of the manifesto of Jubilee that has taken place. And for me, the other focus would be on because in an election, you don't have one party going into an election. You always have various parties going into an election. My question usually is, the manifestos of these particular other political parties that never make it to government as they would have hoped, what happens to their manifestos? My idea would be that, you know, this, and because now they automatically become opposition, that they would focus on trying to push government to implement some of the things that they also had in their manifesto, so that it doesn't appear as if, you know, if I don't make it to government, then I mean, I don't also care about where the country moves or heads. Because at the end of the day, ODM and also all those other parties that were in the elections, the Third Way Alliances of the day, the NARC Kenyas of the day, the UDM of the days back then, what is it called? the Amani Congress of the day, they delivered members of parliament who had, during the elections and campaigns, who had manifestos. So at the end of the day, when we are measuring the rate at which they have delivered, we should also question them and ask them, yes, we never made it to government, we never produced a president, but what happened to our manifesto? How well did you follow up on the implementation of our manifesto? I guess if political parties that do not make government were to take their role of ensuring that government also implements certain things within their manifestos, then we would see a lot more delivery. Okay, I want to take a short break at that particular point in time. We also want to hear from you as well as far as this is concerned. We have a question of the day. Let's have that up on screen. What has the Uhuru Kenyatta administration promised and successfully delivered? It all starts with a manifesto. They go around and promise all these things, but what do they deliver on the ground? We have a message before we get to break. Let's have that quick. President Uhuru promised Kenyans Big Four agenda, and so far he has not delivered. Everything stopped after the handshake. Well, that's Silas Korir echoing sentiments, I think, of the Deputy President right there. That brings us to our first break on the show. Don't forget, you can get yourself a copy of your People Daily. Look at some of the promises that were made as far as stadia are concerned. Billions spent, nothing to show for it. You can get it right there. The number that you need to dial, *550, *4#. Get your e-paper straight to your phone, courtesy of the PD and Safaricom. Back with more after the break.